To order, if we could please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the December 8th, 2025 business meeting of the Milford Board of Education. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Jennifer Brown.
Here.
Megan Doyle.
Here.
Mary Claire Edmonds.
Here.
Nicole Flowers.
Ms. Flowers is absent and excused.
Tom Koba.
Here.
Adam Scobie.
Here.
Hannah Tedros.
Here.
Nicole Wilhelm. Here. And Cindy Wolf-Boynton.
Ms. Wolf-Boynton is excused.
And Susan Glennon is here.
Here.
We have 8 members present.
Thank you very much. All right, we move on to student reports. Welcome, students. I think Jonathan Long goes first.
Thank you and good evening, board members. It is a pleasure to be with you once again. We hope you had an enjoyable holiday. To begin, the National English Honor Society is collecting new and gently used books to donate to various locations in the Milford community this holiday season. If you're interested in donating, reach out to Carissa Lucia to set up drop-off at law. Starting today, the Safe Promise Club began their 14 Days of Action, which is 2 weeks dedicated to togetherness and violence prevention. Today's activity was kindness posters. Students had the opportunity to find a poster in the TLC and answer the prompt, "What is something kind someone has done for you?" Tomorrow, they will be hiding Safe Promise bracelets around the school for students to find. Before Thanksgiving break, the AP Psychology classes hosted their annual Brainsgiving. Each group created a 3D model brain, a restaurant menu featuring 8 dishes of brain foods, and then they made 2 of those foods to serve to peers. It was an energetic environment held in the gym and a great way to kick off the break. In the English department, English 1 Miss Anderson students are constructing compelling, well-supported arguments through a research essay focused on relevant social justice issues by synthesizing information from multiple credible sources, addressing counter-arguments, and using persuasive language. Students are learning to advocate for impactful changes in their communities. Similarly, in Miss Lucia's AP Lang class, students are writing letters to the editors of The Advocate, sharing their opinions on issues they feel are important in our school. They are practicing building their voice through effective rhetorical appeals, hoping to make a positive change in the law community. In Ms. Goldbeck's AP seminar, the students are completing their individual research reports for their mock and real topics. In the next few weeks, they will be working with their groups to create solutions to their research questions, and they will showcase their findings in an 8 to 10 minute group presentation. Students will answer questions about groupmates' IRRs and oral defense similar to defending a master and doctoral thesis. The Advocate online and social media account experienced record views for the first 3 months of school. Mr. Kalanich would like to give a shout out to Advocate Editor-in-Chief Kayla Markowitz for broadcasting the Powder Puff and Thanksgiving games and Thanksgiving football games. In the math department, they have been working on ensuring that its assessments are aligned with its standards. They've also been discussing midterm exams which are happening in January. On top of this, the math teachers have been discussing other course offerings for the future. In the music department, the choir is preparing for their winter concert on the 17th and the instrumental concert on the 18th. They also went caroling this weekend at St. Anne's Christmas Fair. And last week, 16 of our choir musicians made it to the CMEA Southern Region Honors Festival. In the science department, senior AP biology student Billy Soto was recently selected to participate in National Molecular Quantum Day, held at UConn Storrs campus on November 15th. Billy was one of the 20 applicants selected for this competitive program, which was designed to recruit motivated high school students who would have an opportunity to explore key concepts in quantum chemistry through interactive workshops and laboratory experiments. Quantum chemistry has applications in aerospace, insurance, finance, and life sciences. UConn is one of several institutions that is working to help industries in CT explore how quantum breakthroughs can become everyday tools, products, and advantages.
Our world language classes have been exploring celebrations and traditions from the Spanish-speaking, French-speaking, and Latin worlds, comparing them to celebrations in our own American culture. We are beginning classroom novels in both Spanish and French. By the end of the unit, the students will be able to say they have read an entire book in the target language. Spanish classes continue to start many lessons with a pregunta del dia, giving students consistent opportunities for daily speaking practice and helping them build comfort with spontaneous language use. In the TLC, the month of December features a Wrapped Reads project. There are 3 themes of books available: Cozy Mysteries, Quick Reads, and New Year, New You. Books are wrapped in brown paper with the major themes written on them. Students and staff then choose a book based on what's written on the front and unwrap it once checked out. New languages were also just ordered, Russian and Japanese, and that brings the total of languages in the TLC to 9. On Thanksgiving, our football team extended its winning streak over foreign to 5 years. Our winter student athletes and coaches across all sports have been hard at work preparing for competitions to get underway. This winter, we're fielding teams in boys and girls basketball, wrestling, gymnastics, boys swimming and diving, indoor track, competitive cheer, and esports. Our coaches are enthusiastic about the potential of their teams and are committed to fostering both athletic growth and sportsmanship. We are also looking forward to our first home event on December 12th when our girls basketball team hosts Bryan McMinn. We anticipate a great turnout and an exciting start to our home winter schedule. On November 12th, the school counseling staff hosted the annual junior night. There were over 100 attendees at the information session, which aimed to start the post-high school planning process for juniors and their families. In addition, school counseling hosted a FAFSA assistance night for senior families in November. Families that participated were provided one-on-one support in completing their FAFSA online applications. School counseling also hosted a visit from the Connecticut Apprenticeship Training Program on Friday, December 5th. Students from all grades were invited to learn about the apprenticeship process and how to search for opportunities. That's all for this past month. Thank you once again for listening. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you, Layla and Marcus. Shane, Joey, for foreign.
Good evening, everybody. We're excited to be with you all tonight, and we hope your holiday season has been going well so far. Last month, 9th grade students and their parents and/or guardians attended the Influence on Youth Forum, where they were given information regarding the physical, social, legal, and emotional influences of illegal substances and social media. The presentation was beneficial for both children and their parents. On Veterans Day, Foreign had the pleasure of hosting more than 10 veterans who got to tell each of their respective stories and answer any questions students had. Rho Kappa did an amazing job organizing the assemblies, and it was a truly great way for our school to show gratitude. One of our foreign clubs, the Giving Table, also honored our veterans in a very special way. They prepared 2 large trays of baked pasta that had a meat sauce, green peppers, and onions. This was accompanied with a large salad and their delicious garlic bread. They gave the food to the American Legion Post 196 and thanked them for both protecting our country and for the fundraising they do to support our veterans returning home. Students enrolled in our business courses had the opportunity to attend a career seminar which was hosted by Connecticut's own, the Bridgeport Islanders. There were presentations from industry professionals, including the Vice President of Operations, the Vice President of Partnerships, a University of Bridgeport professor, and a director who collaborates with NHL teams across the league. Our AP Art class collaborated with our drawing classes for a field trip to the Yale Peabody Museum. Students participated in a drawing scavenger hunt that guided them through each exhibit, and specific displays utilized light in a way where students were able to examine how values can enhance shapes and forms. Economics students began their study of business structures by designing their own soul companies. This project required students to reflect on their personal strengths while analyzing the unique challenges of owning and operating a business as a teenager. Students had to identify funding sources, define potential clients, and project what the future may look like for their enterprises. Some of the results were an at-home pet hotel, a tutoring service, baking classes, and an auto detailing business. The bake shop class has been getting ready for the holidays. They've been crafting various different pies and have perfected their flaky pie crust skills. So far, the pies they made include an eggnog pumpkin pie, quiche, chocolate cream pie, and of course, a traditional apple pie. They closed the unit with a chicken pot pie challenge. Introduction to allied health profession students are taking turns using a simulated geriatric medication management system. This system is designed to help students build empathy and understanding of the many challenges individuals who are impaired face. The loss of tactile sensation and visual impairment is actually stimulated to students while trying to dispense their daily medications. Getting this experience firsthand was truly eye-opening, no pun intended.
Foreign tech students got to visit Lincoln Tech in East Windsor last month, where they toured the automotive technology, diesel technology, HVAC, and welding programs. Lincoln Tech offers diplomas, degrees, and certificate programs for careers across a wide range of industries that many tech students are interested in and loved getting to see in action themselves. The Unified Sports Leadership Summit was held at Rocky Hill High School, where players engaged in leadership skills seminars, listened to motivational speakers, and participated in team building activities. The team plans on taking what they learned at this summit to build a successful unified sports season that promotes leadership, inclusivity, and community. Our foreign girls soccer team won their first ever Class M state championship against Northwest Catholic. The girls had an amazing season, winning 3-2 in the chip after playing their hearts out all season. We're incredibly proud of them all. The annual Powder Puff game was held, and our foreign girls came out on top, winning 14-7 after 2 weeks of learning football and intense practices. Great job to Coach Phelan and the Lady Lions. At the Thanksgiving game, our foreign football team completed their last game of the season, and both our state championship winning girls soccer and girls softball teams were recognized, and our foreign cheerleaders collaborated with Law Cheerleading during halftime for a dual Milford performance. We would like to give a special thanks to Joey Kersner and Kayla Markowitz, who did a great job on the broadcast of both the Powder Puff and Thanksgiving games. Awesome job to them both. In advanced journalism, students completed a Venn diagram activity where they compared an article from their local news to a piece from the New York Times. The local article was written by the Milford Mirror and focused on the Lafferty family, who founded Avery's Little Army in honor of Avery Lafferty. Avery loved soccer, and the article discussed how much the foreign girls soccer postseason run has meant to them. The lesson focused on understanding the differences in scope, context, and audience, and why local journalism remains so important. It helps students understand how the local news they are actively participating in provides a deeper community context, while national news covers broader issues. 47 new students were inducted into the National Honor Society last week. They were recognized for their achievements in scholarship, service, leadership, and character. And I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Altieri. I think during his speech the power actually went out, so it was pretty memorable. Each student had a speech read aloud about what makes them the amazing inductee they are. We would like to give a special thanks to Mrs. Jamie Annunziata and Mr. Austin Caesar for organizing such a wonderful event, and of course, congratulations to all of these outstanding students. We want to thank you all for your time tonight and wish you all happy holidays.
Thank you, and happy holidays to you all as well. And we understand if you want to head out and take care of your school business or whatever you have to do tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do we have anybody in the audience who would like to make public comment tonight? Certainly.
Hello, I'm Frank Tupka, 326 West Main Street, and I'm president of the Milford Education Association, our teachers union. I'm joined by Alan Stern, our vice president. Just wanted to introduce ourselves to the new board members. Congratulations on joining the board, and congratulations to everyone who won re-election. We're looking forward to working with the board and the administration and continuing the collaboration that we've done. So,
Thank you. Anybody else would like to address the board? I failed to read the public comment statement, but I think you know what it says.
Hi, I'm Mary Elizabeth Oak, also known as Emmy. I live at 30 Dorinna Place. I am somebody you'll see many times at your meetings because I care about education. Some of you know me. I am a dyslexic, and that's what makes me so passionate about education and why I'll sit in your meetings to understand what's going on, because my education was mainly in the UK, except for my dyslexia help came from the States, because America and Holland were the most advanced in teaching dyslexics languages. And my family decided for me not to learn another language since I was so messed up with French and English mixed up together. But I wanted to thank you for running, some of you that are here again, and thank you for your service in advance, because I know it's not easy from everything I've listened to in the last 2 years of meetings. And I just want to thank you One thing that came up since I was here last that I haven't had a chance to say is that I'm incredibly proud of the students of 2024 to 2025, how well they succeeded in their abilities to improve their skills. And I know it has a lot to do with the teachers and management, and also you lot making decisions. And we should all be very, very proud under extremely hard economical decision making. And I know that's not going to ease up in the coming year. So you have my support, because I realize how difficult it is. And I'm passionate that everybody has a chance, regardless of disability, to be able to succeed. And if you get it as a child, it's so much easier as an adult. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to make public comment? Okay, with that, we'll move on to the chair's report. Just one note, we are going to remove from the consent agenda the November 24th organizational orientation meeting minutes for correction. I need a motion to add new business to the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Anybody opposed? Okay, we'll add new business as item 8, and we'll take up those minutes as new business with the correction made. I want to wish everybody happy holidays. It's coming up quickly. And a reminder that this is our only meeting in December. Our next meeting is our business meeting on January 12th, 2026, where Dr. Kutaya will present her budget to us, meant just to be an overview at that point. And then we meet in a series of budget workshops to ask questions and discuss her requests. Those budget workshop dates are Wednesday and Thursday, January 14th and 15th, and Wednesday, January 21st, which would typically be the final discussion and adoption if we're ready. But we also hold Thursday, January 22nd as an extra date in case we have some bad weather or we need extra time. So please keep that on your calendars. All the meetings will start at the regular 7 p.m. time at this point. And then we will meet for our committee of the whole meeting on January 26th. The folks from Perkins Eastman, I believe, will be joining us for a long-range planning discussion, and some or all of that might be held in executive session. The ongoing winter concerts are in our schools throughout December and into January. The dates have been provided to you, so I just urge you to try to attend one or two if you have time and are so inclined. They really are, some of them are remarkable. Just be sure to wear your badge. They showcase the talent of our students and our staff, and I know that they're appreciative of the audience. And so this is the last business meeting of this year. I'd also like to wish everybody a happy new year as well. Do we have any liaison reports tonight? Ms. Edmonds?
Yep. So the Board of Aldermen met last week on Monday, December 1st. They unanimously approved an amendment to the Milford Code of Ordinances regarding vending regulations and restrictions. Vendors have historically been prohibited from being on school property during the school day, including 1 hour before and 1 hour after. And this new amendment extends that restriction to include all school-sponsored events as well. So vendors are now required to obtain prior approval from the school admin and the appropriate city departments if they'd like to be present at a school event.
Thank you. Any other liaison reports? I did meet with PTA Council last month and filled them in on our activities, and they are anticipating our budget work next month. So with that, I will turn the meeting over to the superintendent.
Thank you, Mrs. Glennon. Thank you, members of the Board of Education. You will note under the superintendent's report a change from our usual agenda item. We are bypassing an instructional highlight, as was discussed with the executive leadership team of the Board of Ed, so that we can have plenty of time this evening with guests from Perkins Eastman. So I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Brennan to give you an overview, and then we will have members of Perkins Eastman share some information as an update to this board. Mr. Brennan?
Thank you, Dr. Todd, Ms. Glenn, members of the Board of Education. Good evening. The Milford Board of Education has engaged in significant and strategic efforts to collect some comprehensive data initially throughout these past few years, such as detailed enrollment reports. We've also done a facilities capacity and utilization study and a long-range facilities condition study. So building upon this past background work, the board has now selected Perkins Eastman to continue that collaboration and look at our district-wide facilities master plan. So the collective work that we've engaged in the past, including this future work, is going to help set the stage for future decisions of the Milford Public Schools in terms of long-term planning. We are pleased to welcome Perkins Eastman, 2 members of the team this evening, to give us some of their initial foundational work that they've engaged in thus far and outline their strategic roadmap for the work that they're planning on engaging in throughout this year. Welcome.
Well, thanks so much for having us. I'm sure this works. So as Mr. Brown mentioned, we're going to give a quick update today on the work we've been doing over the last month or so. We've had the pleasure of meeting with some of you, but we'll do a quick introduction of who we are, then dive into the work we've been doing, and perhaps more importantly, where we're going to be going over the next few months. So we'll just do a quick round of introductions, talk about our approach to the work, think about some of the current conditions analysis we're starting to look at, thinking about what we're going to be doing in terms of scenario testing, and then preview some next steps.
We'll take questions at the end, board members.
Great. So before we dive into the content, just to introduce ourselves, I'm Patrick Davis. I'm a principal with Perkins Eastman and leading the effort on the planning side.
I'm Lauren Giamondo. I'm the project architect of the K-12 practice group.
Well, while you have 2 of us here, you've got a whole team behind us, virtually and in the office. We're also supported by a series of engineers to help us with additional analysis if needed. So as we're going through buildings and properties, if we need to look at structure or civil engineering, we've got a whole team to help us with this effort. Just quickly about Perkins Eastman, we had the privilege of sharing who we are to some of you, but since there's some new board members, first off, welcome, congratulations. We are a large architecture and planning firm. We have an office not too far in Stamford, Connecticut. But we're also 24 offices around the world. So we're one of the larger architecture firms in the country and actually internationally as well. And K-12 is really where the bulk of our work in many of our offices. It's actually our largest practice area in the firm. We've been doing K-12 work for over 40 different years. And as you'll see in a minute, we do projects like this all around the country. In our Stanford office, just to highlight a little bit about the work we do here, we've done K-12 work all over the state. We also work with other partners in different industries, but K-12 is one of our biggest practice areas here in Connecticut as well. I mentioned the planning work, so we've been privileged and lucky enough to work with districts all over the country doing facility planning projects just like this one. And I think I shared this during the interview process, there's a lot of groups that come in and can tell you which roof to replace or HVAC system to replace. I think where we really like to shine is really working through some complex challenges and really trying to make sure the solutions we're proposing are working for every single unique community that we're working with. So we bring deep experience, but we really try to learn about the local context so we're delivering solutions that work for Milford. So we're going to go through a few slides just quickly on our approach. Like I said, we've started this work, so you're going to get a quick preview. As the board chair mentioned, we're going to come back in January. We're going to dig a little bit deeper and talk about some of the findings. Right now, it's more of a sort of setting the stage for the work we've done to date, but also teeing up the work for the future. This is an overly simplistic graphic, but just sort of highlights sort of generally how we think about the work. It's really important for us to have a really sound understanding of the current conditions. So where is Milford today? So as you'll see in a little bit, we're thinking about building conditions, we're thinking about enrollment patterns, we're thinking about program access, where students are living. So really getting a deep understanding of where Milford is today. We're really privileged, as Mr. Brennan mentioned, you all have done a lot of great work already, so we're able to leverage that work and actually accelerate that work a lot faster than we normally able to. So we're pulling in the work that's already been done over the last few years and bringing those things together. Then we start to explore options, whether they're building improvement or perhaps alignment options. As you'll see in a little bit, we want to make sure we're understanding the impacts of potential options. What are the cost impacts? Are there programmatic impacts? Are there access impacts? So really thinking about before decisions are made or recommendations are made, you have a clear sense of the potential impacts. Then we move into, after we have a clear understanding of those impacts, then we start to move into the recommendation phase to say, here's where Milford is today, and here's where we think the district can be in the future. So just to highlight some of the things, this is not an exhaustive list, but just to highlight some of the things we've started to look at already. So starting just basic, one of our main starting points is understanding where the students are and where they're going to school. So looking at enrollment patterns, looking at building utilization. So looking at that enrollment versus capacity of the building to determine, are there spaces with extra capacity or not enough capacity? So we think about how the buildings are being used and how they're serving the students in the district. I mentioned the sort of analysis of building conditions. You all have done a lot of great work over the last year or so with a different vendor doing facility conditions assessments. This is really critical. These are really important studies that help you all, but also us, understand what's the state of your buildings right now. But also projecting out, typically these assessments, as yours did, project out over the next 3, 5, 10 years. Buildings don't tend to get better with age, right? They tend to have different things falling apart and different things aging and systems reaching their end of useful life. So we're able to understand, the system deficiencies as they exist today, but also through the assessments, perhaps where they're going to be failing in the future, so that capital funds can start to be allocated in a thoughtful and a forward-looking way to get in front of some of these things. So we get a clear sense of overall building condition, but then also down to what we call the system level. So understanding, maybe there's an HVAC issue here or roof issue there, but really getting down to the details of building conditions across the entire portfolio. I mentioned this a little bit, but we also want to make sure we understand how students are accessing campuses. So this is just looking at 2 schools. We're analyzing student travel behavior and student locations for every single school. So as we do think about potential options in the future, we're able to sort of do that impact analysis and really start to model potential impacts, as you'll see in a little bit. If you're reading this, the darker the shade there means more students live within those areas. We're very careful to not expose student-sensitive data, so we tend to aggregate and share information in this way as we're thinking about student locations. Ultimately, as we go through this initial phase of bringing all this sort of foundational data together, as I mentioned, you've done a lot of great studies. In many ways, they're sort of in these sort of silos as they've been done. Facility conditions project had a report, the demographic study had a report, all the other things are sort of siloed in these buckets. One of the things we're doing in this initial phase is to try to bring everything together. So we're starting to create these school profiles so we have a clear understanding of all of the conditions at a school in a very clear snapshot, so that we can start to see, are there through lines and connections between the different studies and data. So we're starting to put these dashboards together, which will allow us to visualize and start to understand the relationship between the different data sets. And the plan is actually to release a public version of this in January, so that the public can start to see how all the data and all the studies that have come before you over the last number of years are starting to come together in a clean and simple way. So in January, we'll plan to release a public-facing dashboard so people can start to pick a drop down and start to see conditions across the district or an individual school. So we're excited to really, I think that'll be part of our January meeting, share some of that. So excited to get some of that out to the public, because it's really important for us to, as we work through this with you, the community needs to understand, where the recommendations are coming from, and that really starts with a clear understanding of conditions. So we'll make sure this is broadcast through all the channels as we get it up and running in a public-facing way.
Okay, jump in. So as we're analyzing the existing sites, we're also going to be, considering the idea of consolidating to one single high school. And to do that, we'll analyze all of the available parcels in Milford. And some of the factors that we're going to be considering while we're doing that is the site big enough for a new high school to fit the program not only in the building, but also outside of the building. There's athletic fields, parking for students. So we'll be studying that. And is the actual land, suitable for a school? Are there wetlands there? If so, unfortunately, that would be a non-buildable area. And what are the costs that come with acquiring this particular site? Is there a building on it already that would need to be demolished? So that would factor into the cost. And what other zoning considerations are there on each site? And we also want to make sure we're sensitive to the travel distances. We want to be fair to the east and west side of town if we're consolidating. And for the staff and students, especially with the young student drivers, we want to be sensitive to that. And we have met with the city planner who helped us identify all of the large parcels in all of Milford, and even the medium-sized parcels in case there were two that could be combined. So we're studying all of that. Wetlands will probably take out a few of those options, but we are studying everything, whether there's a building on it or not, to see if those sites are viable.
Yeah, I'll just add, we really want to take a broad brush approach initially to really just get a clear sense of what's out there. Most of them are not going to work, right? Most of these properties are not going to be viable, but we wanted to really start with a really exhaustive look at public and private land. Then we'll start to go through that process of refinement and start to get a really narrowed down list of potentially viable sites. And one of the things we're doing is starting to build some tools around it to help us with analysis. So we start to look at that broad list of properties, as Lauren mentioned, starting to understand some of those impacts, and one of those being travel distance. So starting to really model and understand, hey, what happens if something goes here? How does it impact student travel distance? So just an example of some of the tools we're creating where we can start to see, are there travel distance impacts for certain schools versus others? What we're showing on the right here is if you click that, it's a random one, don't read too much into it, random parcel, how does it impact travel distance for different schools? So just a quick preview of some of the types of things we're looking at as we're going through this exploration process.
And as we're analyzing each of the sites, as architects, we'll be looking at the sites also with a design lens. Is this site, it might be big enough, but is it suitable for a high school? And not even just a school, a high school specifically, because elementary, middle school, and high school all have different programmatic needs, even if the land is an appropriate size. The building itself has different scales and proportions at each of the grade levels, and the space outside the building has different needs. Athletic fields in high school, playgrounds in elementary school. And part of our process as we begin designing, we'll have a spreadsheet of all the program and the square footage requirements that we'll work with you to refine. But we also create these programmatic diagrams with them, so it's not just an Excel spreadsheet. And we use these to help group certain programs together. And it ultimately helps us figure out what programs go on the ground floor and ultimately define the footprint of the building on the site. And we'll do this with exterior program as well. And as we further refine and start to narrow down a site, we'll have to layer in different information for that particular site. So whether it's wetland, setbacks, is there sewage, sewers underneath, floodplains. So we'll have to analyze that to figure out from this size parcel, where is the actual buildable land. And if there's already an existing school on it, that would need to be maintained. We would look to, a typical strategy that we do is we build on an adjacent field on that property, and once that school is fully complete, then the existing school gets demolished and we rebuild a field back where that school was. So we never lose a day of school, and we're conscious of construction traffic if that's a route that we choose to take. And those programmatic diagrams, that the next step in the process is we determine that the site is viable, and now we start taking those program pieces and start developing an actual floor plan. And we'll do various other analysis, including daylighting. We want to bring as much natural light into the school as possible, into the classrooms. So we'll make sure the building is oriented properly. We'll do traffic analysis, so for parent, student drop-off, student parking, and bus traffic as well. So that'll all be analyzed so that we have the proper placement of the school on the site.
I hope the big orange bubble is clear enough. These are not examples from Milford. We're just showing a process from other schools, other districts we worked with. So ultimately, as we start to go through this for elementary, middle, and high school, start to look at current conditions, look at potential options for investment or movement of program, we want to make sure that we're layering in quantitative and qualitative data so that we're making really informed decisions. That often outputs into like a framework for decision making. So how do these different inputs influence future decisions? This is again an example from another project, but really want to make sure all the data we're looking at, we're able to clearly define and define how it's used in the future for decision making. As I mentioned previously, a key part of our work, before we go and say go do this or recommend that, we're going to make sure you all have a clear understanding of potential impacts. Whether that's just adding a gym to a school or potentially moving a program. There are impacts with every single decision or recommendation. Those impacts could be on a program placement or the students involved, or there could be a cost impact, but both operating or capital cost. And there could be operational costs, thinking about things like transportation and food service and all these different aspects. So as we go through the process of identifying scenarios, we'll go through this lens of impact analysis so that you all have a clear sense of any recommendation we're making. You understand the short, medium, and long-term potential impacts of the scenarios. So this was really meant to be a high level, whereas I mentioned we're going to come back in January, but just to preview some of those next steps. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be finalizing that synthesis and analysis of the existing conditions. We're going to continue to explore the sort of range of potential properties out there for consideration. As Lauren mentioned, we've started that process, but certainly going through that process to refine and sort of go through that validation process will be critical. January is going to be a critical month. Obviously, as we mentioned, we're going to come back to you all, but we're also going to be launching some of those public-facing tools and dashboards, but also pairing that with surveys. You all have done engagement previously, so the intent is to not redo all of that engagement, but perhaps build off of the engagement you all have done around this effort. That'll be done both through surveys in coordination with Mr. Brennan, the superintendent, on coordinating calendars for some in-person opportunities for engagement as well, spread across the district so that we're able to get representative voice across the district, both digitally but also in person, probably pairing that with virtual opportunities as well. And then we'll come back, obviously, with you all in January. And then in the February, March, spring timeframe is when we start to sort of roll up our sleeves and test some of the different scenarios. And obviously, we'll come back to you and share some of those recommendations and findings. So very high level, but really meant to sort of set the table for future work, and happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you. We appreciate your being here.
Of course, and sorry I have come.
I know there's a lot to digest for new board members especially, but do you have any questions at this point? They will be back again in January. Yes?
Yes, I had one question. On slide 10, there's the heat map of facility conditions index from 10 to 70. What does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah, so there's typically what is called the facility condition index score, which is basically the ratio of the deferred maintenance of the building versus the replacement cost. So typically the higher the number is an indication for the worse condition the building is. You actually want to have a low number, which indicates, so the sort of heat map is the lower the shade of the color, you're actually in a better condition. As you get into the darker reds, your building condition, as you can start to see, it starts to get progressively worse over time. So this is saying if you don't do anything, this is how systems are going to age. So there could be a working HVAC system in a building right now, but based on the age of that system when it was installed, the manufacturer recommendation, it may be expiring in the next 5-10 years. So that starts to influence the potential future costs. That's why you start to see it get darker and darker in the future. This is a very normal trend, right? This is what you would expect to see. And this is why capital investment in many cases is so necessary, because ultimately you're going to pay for these things in the future, both operationally but also from a capital standpoint. So try to get out in front of these things. And to your credit, the studies you've done help prepare you for those sort of future investments. So you're not just reacting and responding, oh man, the HVAC system went out. We can start to actually project when those things are going to happen. So that's what this is.
All right, cool. And I get that 70, like dark red is bad. I can follow that. My follow-up question is, what is like tolerable?
There's some standard ranges. You kind of want to be under 35 is sort of the target range. There's a point where it actually probably makes more sense to just start over and rebuild a building versus just sort of smaller project. Doing 10 small projects versus just starting over, there tends to be more that happens.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I do have
Ms.
one.
Edmonds?
Thank you for that presentation. You mentioned the dashboard going public in January. Is there a communications plan of how that will be explained to parents and families? I would imagine that some of this could feel concerning or alarming if depending on how it's communicated.
Yeah, so we take great care in that. It's actually really important just so we're using language that people can understand. We can talk in jargon for hours and days and months. So whenever we release things publicly, we try to make sure that it's in sort of understandable language, but also there's context around it so we can start to explain some of the things we just talked about around just what does this mean. So typically we'll have things like tooltips. If you hover over this, it'll explain what it is and start to give a range of conditions. But we'll work obviously with the superintendent and team on that plan to make sure, the intent's not to scare anyone, right? It's to make sure people are informed about where you are and perhaps more importantly, what it means for future recommendations so that we're building this plan with people rather than coming in 4 or 5 months from now and saying, oh, we're going to go do this. We want to make sure there's a common understanding of conditions before we get to that phase. But we take great, it's really important for us so that we're using proper language and tools to make sure it's communicated. But we'll work with the district on effective ways to do that, make sure it's clear and understandable for the community.
Any questions? Ms. Doyle?
Thank you. Thank you for coming back. This is predominantly focused on the one high school, and you're doing the work concurrently on the middle school. I think that part is the second question, but like the elementary schools too, that would be presented possibly in January as well, some information at that point.
Yeah, we focused a little bit on the high school, but we are working on sort of understanding conditions and options for all different grade levels. So yes, we'll have a comprehensive understanding.
Thank you.
Adam?
It's good to see you both again.
Likewise.
Appreciate the presentation. I just want to kind of throw out there, and I'm sure you remember this from the process throughout the summer, but one of my big concerns was just like the community engagement, and you kind of touched on this with Mary Claire's comment, but I really appreciate your plan moving forward with that transparency and trying to keep the community engaged. So, like I said, I'm sure you noticed that was like one of my biggest concerns throughout the interview process. So, I just appreciate what you're doing for that.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm happy to do it. It's a critical part of any of these projects.
I think that was one of the one of your strong points in your presentation was that piece. So.
Good. Thank you.
Do we have other questions from board members? I had one on slide 9. The capacity bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
So some are far away, some are closer, and some are actually within the blue stripe. So can you explain those?
Yeah, so the building capacity was done due to previous capacity study.
Correct,
so,
right.
What it does is essentially it looks at the number of teachable, or what we call loadable spaces in a building, so teaching stations. And typically there's a factor that says a classroom, and I don't know, forgive me, I don't know the exact number in your in the district.
Yeah, so I'm just questioning,
yeah.
the farther away
So
of the
the
bubbles
farther away
that.
means there's more space.
More
and
space.
More space.
And then, so like, and where there's absolutely no space between the bar and the bubble, they're under capacity.
Yeah, it's a little bit unclear. It's actually the middle of the bubble is really where
Okay, so farther away equals more space.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, we will see you back in a month and a half or
Great.
so.
Happy holidays and Happy New Year. We'll see
Thank you.
in
Thank you for
Thanks.
coming out.
Thank you. It was really great working with you guys. We appreciate you seeing you in person
Yes.
rather than Zoom.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
The next agenda item will be the proposed 2026-2027 academic calendar. Board of Education members, you'll see different than we normally do, 2 proposed calendars actually. I'm going to run through the commonalities and differences. Certainly this is a first read. You won't actually take action until January. So please feel free to send us your questions even after this meeting. Okay? So So just in generalities, it's important to note that students in Milford go to school for 181 contact days, and teachers are contracted to work 185 days. The additional 4 days include professional learning days. In both calendars, you will note that 3 of those professional learning days occur in August and 1 occurs in November. That's a change that we made this year. We received great feedback from our teachers, and so we will recommend that we continue front-loading 3 out of 4 of those professional learning days in August and leaving 1 in November. Prior to this year, there was 1 in March, 2 in August, okay? In both calendars, the first day of school for students is Thursday, August 27th. We also made a shift this year that worked well for our teachers and parents. The October conferences are still identified on 3 days, but rather than being Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you will find the October conferences to be a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We propose that we continue that practice in October. In both calendars, the March parent conference nights occur Tuesday. I combined Tuesday and Thursday there for a second. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, with Good Friday being on Friday, on March 20th. And our schools are closed in observance of Good Friday.
Good Friday's March 26th.
So thank you. There are 7 early release days in this calendar. This year we rolled back from 11 to 8. We have made accommodations and reconfigured our professional learning calendar. Mr. Artieri has additional information if the board needs it. We believe we can go to 7 professional learning days. The one that is removed is in December, if you compare this year's calendar to the one that is before you. We believe that with everything that happens in December, there's a shorter bandwidth amongst staff members, teachers, administrators alike. We're kind of experiencing that with this week's professional learning. So we're right in the midst of that. So we are proposing maintaining the 7 early release days. Early release days are very important for us to be able to meet the professional needs of our teachers, and we have some examples and can even engage in some dialogue if the board so needs more information. There's also mandated training for teachers. The 4 days plus some of the early release days help us get the mandated training in. And in your packet, in the agenda form, you actually have some samples of professional learning opportunities that we have offered to our teachers here in Milford. So especially the new board members can get a flavor for the type of experiences we offer. So let me offer to you the differences between calendar 1 and 2. And primarily, they are the placement of spring break. Now, in a school calendar survey that we conducted last year, about a little over a year ago, about 14 months ago, there was support for marrying the Good Friday, Easter, spring break together, to keep that together. So in calendar 1, you will see the example of keeping Good Friday along with the spring break. Good Friday being March 26th, running spring break through April 2nd, and you will see that parent conferences are the 23rd, 24th, 25th. While we're in March, I'll also mention that Eid is observed once again in March. But calendar 2 demonstrates what it would look like with spring break a little later, 2 weeks later. Because the Good Friday, Easter weekend comes early in 2027, it feels a little early to take a week off, and that makes spring very long, April, May, June. It's a long run there for teachers and kiddos. So the second calendar you will see proposes parent conferences on 23, 24, 25 of March, observing Good Friday on the 26th, coming back to school on Monday, March 29th, and observing a spring break April 12th through 16th. Both calendars have us ending school for students and teachers on June 8th. Those are the primary highlights of the two calendars. Ms. Glennon, we're happy to take questions.
Thank you. Just a note, it was brought to my attention that the note at the bottom needs some refinement, because it mentions the last day of school tentatively June
Yes.
9th, so that should be the 8th.
Okay, our
And I
apologies for
believe
that.
the additional days, the next sentence, the additional day is not going beyond June 26th, which is a Saturday, so I think that's supposed to be the 25th.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the last piece about should more days be needed, they will be deducted from the spring break, so that needs to be defined better.
Yes. We'll make those modifications, thank you.
And then the other thing that was pointed out to me was the March dates are out of order. Everything else is in order, so I think March 23rd to 25th should be in between the 10th and the 26th.
Ah, okay. Will do, thank you.
Other questions from board members? Comments?
I do
Ms.
have
Edmonds?
one. Before this meeting, I had the chance to watch some of the recordings from the last 2 years and hear more about the professional learning that's already taken place, which sounds really exciting. One of the things I love that I've heard is that there's time for teacher collaboration and data review and things like that, so teachers actually getting together and not just sitting in a training. I noted that when we went down from, was it 11 early release days to 8?
Correct.
And now 7. One of the things that was previously noted was that those days are already pretty packed. And so I'm wondering if you considered, I hear you about December being kind of a crazy time for bandwidth. Beyond just the busyness of the month, can you talk a little bit more about your rationale to get rid of one more early release day? Knowing that in previous meetings, it was shared that those days kind of move the needle on test scores and teacher morale and different things like that, so.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Edmonds. So looking at the calendar, and it was something that as we thought about different opportunities for the early release days, thinking about the beginning of the year we're coming off of the fact that we've got the 3 days, as Dr. Kataya mentioned, in August, to really jumpstart, get teachers thinking about curriculum and new initiatives that are in place. Also having the November day in there as well. And then we have the early release day in September as well as November. We felt like there was ample opportunities for us to have staff collaboration to really set the tone and the direction for the school year, and to make sure that we gave time for, as you saw in the memo, 18 hours of mandated training, and that just keeps coming. So we felt like if there was any place within the calendar to make a shift, it was early on in the year. Later on in the year, obviously, now there's no more full professional development days in there, so having the spread out early release days from January on through the month of May made sense to have the December one as the one that was the one sought for reduction.
And then when we dug a little deeper, so in addition to, we took a look at September, October, November, and even the first week of December, and we found that we had 4 opportunities for teacher support networks. Those will remain. We had 2 opportunities for data review days. Those will remain. And then we had 4 opportunities for school-based meeting days. So we felt when we conducted an analysis of what was happening already from August to the 1st of December, that we felt comfortable that we were supporting our teachers and front-loading that time through the beginning of December. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, yes, it does.
Thank you.
Can you go through and point out what the professional learning early dismissal days are? Because I'm only counting 6.
I have 7.
Okay, let's do
Yep.
that together.
Sep-
Mr. Archer, you have it?
Yep, September 23rd,
Yeah.
November 18th,
Mhm.
January 20th, the 24th of February, April 21st, May 12th.
That is 6.
Oh, June 4th and 7th says early dismissal just for students.
Right, but that's contractual, because it's the, before, the last 2 days before school dismisses are always early dismissal days. So that's not professional learning days. I just noticed that myself, so.
Can we have a minute?
Yeah.
To look at this year's calendar for a moment? I'm sorry. We're going to remain silent for a second. So, our initial thinking is, yeah, it is, you're right. We had, March 10th as an early release, and that became a holiday.
So would you
So
go-
we'd like
You
to,
go back and
yeah, add,
for next month, when we look at it,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
second reading, you'll
and
fix that.
if we have an answer before next month, I'll just send that to you in
Sure,
writing.
that'd be great, yep.
Thank you for catching that.
And then in looking at the differences between, for that spring break, can you, I think I've heard you say in the past, you've talked about how the month of June is a tough month to keep people engaged, because it's toward the end of the year, so.
I don't know that there's any empirical data on that, but I invite anyone to walk around a school on a second week of June day, with no air conditioning, by the way.
Yes, I know.
I don't believe those are high-quality days.
Okay,
Not
so-
that our teachers aren't working very
No, I
hard those
understand
days, but I'd rather have a day, I'd rather start earlier, because we're kind of petered out by then.
Well, my
AP tests are
question
done.
is more relating to the falling of the spring break. So having the break, having a longer stretch of time, if we were to keep the consistency with having Good Friday start off the spring break week and have the last week of March be the break. It adds, it makes a larger stretch of time for April, May, and June. And given that June is already a tough sell for teaching and learning to some degree, and I understand why. Is it better to have the break in April to break that up a little bit, I think is my point. I think I'm hearing you say that you would prefer, you're leaning towards calendar 2 as a preference? I don't know if you've said that or not.
In
but-
talking with our team, we lean toward calendar 2. Certainly, this is your decision. There's another reason that we should talk about, and while we will never align to every single school district around us, we do have teachers who don't work in Milford. And the early spring break, and not many calendars have been approved, so when we took a look, the school districts that did have an approved calendar had it later in April, did not have an early spring break. So one, that increases for some teacher absences because they don't have other people to help watch their children. And also for those teachers who do have family, it just increases the burden on teachers. So you're more likely to align to more districts if you move it into April.
Okay. I know we've talked a lot as a board about how impossible it is to really align
Right.
with other districts, other than the state going ahead and having a uniform calendar for the whole state, which would solve that problem. And
Well, they tried that.
They tried that and it didn't work.
20 years
so.
ago. And it,
Well,
yeah,
that was
met
a-
with
That
resistance.
was even a regional,
Yeah, it
a
was
regional
regional.
option, so. I know, I'm just looking, as I look at it, it seems to me that to have a longer stretch in the latter half of the year, with June being such a tough time to keep people engaged, it makes sense to have a shorter stretch rather than a longer stretch, so.
That is also the same time that we're testing. Our SBA testing occurs during that time, so.
Which time?
In May.
April, May.
Yeah.
Okay. Comments from board members? Yes, Ms. Tedros?
I just wanted to add something really quick. Teachers in Milford do have PD after school. It's not on the calendar. Do they have time after? Do there's like contractual time they take after school professional development?
Yeah, there's
It's just not on the calendar. I was
Correct.
answering that to Mary Claire because she's only seeing professional development as represented in the calendar, but I'm pretty certain teachers have.
Well, that's what I was counting, for
After
teacher
school.
support network opportunities. We have 2 data days, so those are different variations. So it might be an hour, it might be an hour and a half.
Right.
And then
But
there's
might
early
not be, it's not
dismissal.
gonna be seen on the calendar because it's what goes to families, but it would be the teachers do it after school, but it's not on
Right, but
the
it's,
calendar.
well, it's something that they take into consideration for
Right.
their whole professional learning.
Well, and that
calendar. So
time's-
we're just talking about
It's
the calendar right
contractual
now.
time, so
I
that,
know, she was asking about professional development. I think you only understand it as what you're seeing in front of you is how much professional development teachers getting, correct?
I didn't take it as that.
I think I'm good. Yeah.
no, in one of the presentations, maybe Ms. Edmonds that you're referring to, we actually presented on our professional learning systems. And there are 4 or 5 different categories that may or may not occur. Actually, we believe on the ground during the school day, shoulder to shoulder, colleague to colleague is some of the best professional learning we have. But that's not just a categorical calendar piece, it's just professional learning, period.
Ms. Tedros?
I have a question, but it's not meant to be a commentary. I'm curious, is there logic around why Wednesdays are the days that we do professional learning? And I'm not suggesting another day, I'm genuinely curious.
So I think, so the days that, the time that Ms. Brown was just talking about are Wednesdays. That's when the teachers have their, so they marry, so for the early release days, they marry the time together.
Yes,
So that's why it's Wednesday.
That's just a historical practice in
Okay,
Milford.
so-
I mean, I think it could possibly go back decades, possibly. Like, Ms. Kapazna is shaking her nodding, yeah? I think it's become a predictable structure for our professionals to be able to say, all right, Wednesdays, I need childcare. Wednesdays is when I'm gonna be at work longer. Thursdays, hard, because bandwidth Thursday. So,
So
it's-
my 20th year in this, a week on Wednesday.
Yeah.
My 20th year in district, and it's.
I think it's just a
Wednesday.
historical structure.
There's no scientific on the day of the.
Okay, that's helpful. I just know from, like, I have not interacted with the school district for 20 years. I know that sometimes when there are, days off and, like, you have days off, like Monday and Friday off, and then the following Wednesday is a professional learning, that can feel like a lot. So I'm just curious if we've ever considered kind of, like, connecting the professional learning to days off that are upcoming.
I mean, I know we have tried to spread them out throughout the calendar to try to keep as many full continuous weeks intact. So it limits the number of days that are, like you said, the Monday, Friday, and a Wednesday thrown in there. We've tried to limit that to the extent possible.
Other questions or comments? Ms. Doyle?
Thank you. I'm leaning towards calendar 2, particularly because in calendar 1, in March, you have the 3 days of parent-teacher conferences on the 23rd, 24th, and 25th, and then you lead directly into Good Friday and the entire week off. So to some extent, those feel like potentially 2 weeks that would really be detrimental and students would be lost at that time. And then the other half is, in theory, we still have snow in March. So if we have snow days on the 29th or the 30th, that's great, we're here, but, you know, by having the week in April, I think we can accommodate if there are snow days later on in that way to pull back if need be.
That's a
I
good
don't
point.
think we will be getting to the 25th. We don't typically have 14, whatever. But, yeah. Sorry, I don't have that much power.
Thank you, Ms. Doyle.
I don't have that much power.
Thanks for a bad winter
Well,
next
one year
year.
that we did, it was because of Storm Sandy. So it was
Yeah.
a fall hurricane that, it was a devastating hurricane that caused that to happen, so.
I think too is we had, I think it was potentially last year or the year before when we also did have the 11 early dismissals and it was an early vacation. And I remember by the end of the year, everyone was not happy. So I think that spacing those out is helpful.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to go and revisit the early release, and we'll send you a draft before you entertain it in January, so you have some time to think about it, okay? Also, just to comment on the new format with the colors, I love it. It's so much easier to read this. Thank you, Ms. Rutherford. To have. Yeah, so, yes, thank you to Patty Rutherford for that. Anybody else have any comments or questions about the calendar? Okay, so this will come back to us on at the January business meeting for an adoption and additional conversation. Ms. Gunn, the next item is 2026 Board of Education meeting schedule. It is required that the annual meeting schedule be submitted to the city clerk by January 31st, so we're a little ahead of time, but we normally do it here in December. The meeting structure requires meetings to be held on the second and fourth Monday of the month, but you'll note that in June, July, August, and December, there's only one business meeting. The second meeting in May will be held on a Tuesday because of Memorial Day. And the August business meeting will be held on the fourth Monday rather than the second Monday of the month. Are there any questions? Any questions from the board? Okay, we have a motion, Ms. Doyle.
Sure. I motion that the Board of Education approve the 2026 Board of Education meeting schedule.
Is there a second?
Second.
Who was that?
Mayor Tarby.
Do we have any discussion on this? It's just matter of pro forma pretty much. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Dunn, the next item up is the Talent Manager Development Report, and I'll hand things over to Ms. Capasna.
Thank you very much. So in my monthly report, you have the listing of job postings, personnel recommendations, retirements, resignations, terminations, and stipend appointments. And each month, if there's something different to point out, I will do so. So this month, what makes this report stand out is our winter coaching stipend lists for both Jonathan Law and Foreign High School. So you will see these lists 3 times a year, one for each of the 3 seasons. Also, I'd like to report on how many retirements we have thus far. In the teacher contract, we have an early retirement extra $500 if people let us know by December 15th. So I think that's given us a couple of retirements so far, but we're up to 5 retirements. That date is December 15th that they would have to let us know by. So typically what will happen is we'll get a couple, and then after the 15th, we won't get any probably till the spring. So the 5 retirements that I have, one person already left. She had put in her notice last year and just needed to work the month of September. So she's already gone, so it's 4 more after that.
Okay. Questions for Ms. Capasna? Is there anything unusual in the job postings? We have I see a couple of teacher positions.
Yeah,
Are these
so.
just the typical shortage areas?
Exactly. Not typical to have so many job openings right now. We do have, I believe I counted 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teacher openings. One being the ASL teacher, so that's something we've been looking for a while. We have 4.2 FTE special ed teacher openings, a science teacher, a computer science teacher, which is technically tech ed, and an instructional coach opening. So to have 3 would probably be typical, but to have 9 is atypical. But due to so many special ed openings within the state, everyone seems to be kind of moving around, begging from Peter to pay Paul, and it's creating this cyclical issue that many of us are having in HR departments across the state.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Next item, Ms. Glennon, is the monthly disbursement report, and I'll be handing things over to Mr. Brennan.
Thank you, Dr. Todd. Members of the board, for some of the new members that we have here, I just wanted to give a little quick highlight overview of what this report is for you. So each month at our business meeting, we generate a report of cash disbursements over the amount of $1,500 for the previous month, and we provide that report to you at the business meeting. As we go throughout the months, you will see many of these items on here that are very similar to each month as they're recurring charges. And at every single one of these months, we present this report, and we are happy to answer any questions you may have on purchases that we have over $1,500 from the previous month. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Doyle?
Thank you. For Bertram Moses, I think you usually pay them in retainers, quarterly retainers. Is this in addition to our regular quarterly retainer?
Yes, so there is a quarterly retainer charge, but then there are also additional fees as things arise throughout student issues, staff, personnel issues, whatever it may be.
Okay, before you do the next disbursement of the retainer?
Yes.
Essentially. Okay, and then the United Illuminating, so foreign is 21,000 and the rest of the other schools is 44,000, is that correct?
Yes, so foreign typically generates, well, not typically, it does require the most electricity to run that school. As the board is aware, that school has air conditioning in there, which is needed to run in order to keep that school operating. Typically in the summer months, when that is at a higher temperature outside, in order to keep up with the cooling, that would generate more electricity. We do have some things that help offset the cost of the foreign electricity, like the Beaverbrook fuel cell. We generate electricity from there at a reduced cost from the city. The city wastewater treatment plant offsets some of those costs, and we also do have some solar there as well. But yes, those electricity charges are higher during summer months.
Because that, I know we do see that in the budget book when we look at it. That's it. Those are the only two. Thank you.
Any other questions from board members on any of the items on the disbursement report?
That completes the superintendent's report, Ms. Glennon.
Thank you, Dr. Pataya. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Ms. Doyle, it's only for the November 1st meeting.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of November 10th.
Consent agenda.
Sorry, the consent agenda, sorry.
Which is the minutes for November 10th, 2025. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, and then we've added new business as item number 8, which will be motion to, well, there's a correction. Okay, correction to both of those minutes. We need to strike in the heading. We need to strike the live streamed on YouTube because the MGAT did not cover the organizational or the orientation meetings. So we would strike live streamed on YouTube on both of those minutes. So I would like a motion to approve the November 24th, 2025 organizational meeting and the November 24th, 2025 orientation meeting as amended.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is that you?
No,
Yes.
I said I was going to be here.
Is there any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Board comment. Any board comment this evening? Okay, seeing none. We motion to adjourn into executive session.
I make a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of the superintendent's 6-month check-in, inviting Dr. Pataya into the session.
Is there a second?
Second. It's no fun if you let me.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we are in executive session at 8:14. We're gonna go upstairs, board members. Okay, we do have to come back here to adjourn the meeting if you have stuff you want to leave here. I wouldn't leave your,
Now I'm gonna do something about this.
anything of value.
Bring the W.B. Mason panel on tomorrow.
at 9:46.
So moved.
Second?
Second. It's not fun if you don't try. Cannot take this enough.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'm starting to enjoy it, just seeing the opposite you want to.
Who seconded that one?
I did.
We have to move you too.
They sound
So I can
alike,
tell the
too.
difference.
I know, right?
Mary Claire second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned at 9:46.
So used to Scott being our second.
I know, right?
No one's like listening to Jimmy. It's always Scott.
Did you say nobody's
No one's
listening to your husband?
No one's listening. Husband, I
Qualify you at 10.
Yes.
Comes
11 o'clock,
you.
we'll be there 11 o'clock.
So you're our troublemaker.
I
know.
Yeah.
Is she trouble? She is. Sue Wednesday, yes?
Yes, yeah.
At 11.